When speaking to Nasty Nas, you can hardly believe he's the same guy who brags that his rhymes are hotter than a prostitute with gonorrhea, or letting you know you wouldn't catch him on the streets without a ton of reefer. Is that so? Well, this soft-spoken, polite, yes, he really is, 19-year-old out of Queensbridge Projects is blowing up with his debut single entitled Halftime, from the soundtrack to Oliver Stone's film Zebrahead. And if you haven't heard it, you may recall Nas from a couple of years back when he was one of the guest rappers on Main Source's classic posse cut Live at the Barbecue. Large Professor, that was my man before he made a record, Nas explains. He was just out here in Queens. My man introduced me to him because he knew I could rhyme. I was about to stop till I met him. He had some beats for me and back in '89. Me and him, Large Professor, were working together trying to come out, and then he got a record deal, and since me and him was cool, he just put me on that record to give me some light. In the music business, it's often said that it's who you know that gets your foot in the door. But in Nas's case, this wasn't so. It was difficult getting a deal, says Nas. Like nobody wanted to hear what I was saying. They wanted to hear other records like OPP from Naughty by Nature, when that type of music was big. But weren't record companies convinced of your skills from Live at the Barbecue? Yeah, they were convinced, but on some street tip. You know what I'm saying? It was like the record labels didn't really know what time it was. I thought that was strong enough to get me a deal, but it wasn't. Being a lyricist rather than making a pop sounding record. In full possession of a hardcore lyrical style with an image to match, didn't Nas feel he sounded a bit lightweight next to MC Search when he debuted together on last year's Back to the Grill? That's a funny question. Did Nas feel like he was a lightweight next to MC Search? That's comical. He says, I did, he admits. But people hadn't heard me in a while, so that was an opportunity for me. I didn't really want to do the song. I didn't really want to do it, but that's what got me my real light, you know? So it was basically a favor for Search. Yeah. I was bugging. Oh, this is so New York. You know, says Nas about the rap on Halftime. You know, it means like intermission. When I be hearing a lot of BS rap songs, it's like halftime or something, or when the breaks come. That was like halftime of the song. As we speak, Halftime is the number 12 and rising on the Billboard rap charts, which Nas, being the down-to-earth geezer he is, is not impressed by. So when Halftime dropped, I believe that was 92, 93. It was on the Billboard, but Nas wasn't impressed by that. He says, nah, I don't know nothing about that, meaning the Billboard. I'm only concerned with the street vibe. A street vibe that's sure to be continued with his debut album, which he's been recording with the Large Professor and Gangstar's DJ Premier. So does Nas harbor any big ambitions, producing maybe? Music biz hotshot? He says, I want to be president of the United States. Nasty Nas for president. Now, hit the like button, share this video, subscribe to this channel. What I just read was an article that was done around, I want to say this article was 93. This is right when, as it says, Nas is recording Illmatic. And at this particular time, he'd had his demo tape out. He'd had Live at the Barbecue. You know, he was making his rounds. He was a heavy underground rapper. And he had a big underground buzz. Now, this is 92, 93. So this is a time when you look at hip-hop, like I mentioned earlier, Naughty by Nature is like the biggest thing in hip hop, along with Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. That's like the top three at this time. LL was big, pause. And around this time, 92, it's also a time when, I mentioned this on the channel. Around 92, 93, this is also when you're kind of having like, this is like you're turning from the 80s, and, Eric B and Rakim are about to split, and EPMD is going to split, and, the industry's already kind of phased out the Melly Mel's and Curtis Blows by this time. But the seeds are being planted in 92, 93 that you're going to have Black Moon, you're going to have Wu-Tang Clan, you're going to have, Fat Joe's going to get bigger. No pun intended. Pause. Bad Boy, Death Row is already like damn near enormous already, just off Deep Cover and The Chronic. You still had Eazy-E, so on and so forth. So a lot is going on in hip hop. I've touched on it on this channel that a lot of people, when they talk about the history of East Coast hip hop, they love to say that like the East Coast was dead before Illmatic and Biggie and Wu-Tang. It's like I've already touched on this great lie. Let me try to find this video if I can find it here. It should be in my series. I believe it was Rap Lies. Let me see. Let's see here. It should be Rap Lies. I want to say I said it in this video. Let me see. It should be East Coast. Let me see. Here it is. Exposing the lie that East Coast hip hop was dead in the early 90s before Nas, Biggie, and Wu-Tang. Watch this video. This is one of my best videos. This is one of my very best videos. Also check this one out, Rap Lies episode 4. But like as you can see in the thumbnail, there was DOS effects. Like there was never, the East Coast was not like dead in 91, 92, 90. That's a lie. But in that period is 91, 92, 93. That is when Biggie has his demo where he's rapping over Big Daddy Kane beats, and Nas has his demo, the same demo he took to Russell Simmons, and Russell Simmons says, "You sound too much like Coogee Rap and Rakim, and they don't sell enough records." So this is happening at that particular time. And tactics of the music industry are nothing new. The music industry has always tried to follow, well, this works, so let's find someone who'll do our version of it. So at the time when Nas is, making his rounds with MC Search and Main Source, and he's doing his demo, and he's working with AZ, that is when Naughty by Nature is big, and they had OPP and Uptown Anthem and all these type of things. And there was a time when Tretch was the biggest rapper in the world. And executives, they don't look at this for the art of it, as you should know. They look at it for dollar signs. So Tretch, who was a tremendous MC, one of the most underrated, one of the most decorated, and he wasn't like a soft crossover pop rapper like they tried to, Hammer. And I like MC Hammer, but, Hammer did have dance records and things like that. But in real life, Hammer's like the realest rapper ever, if you know, you know. But as far as his rap image, he was seen as safe, and he had the KFC commercial and the British Knights commercial, and Tretch had big records, but Naughty by Nature had some of the hardest beats and albums. Like Naughty by Nature was incredible, but OPP was the monstrous song. I want to, if I'm not mistaken, OPP sampled Jackson 5, if I'm not mistaken, and it was a huge song. MTV was using it. The NBA Jam Session was using, Naughty by Nature, OPP, and things like that. So that was the big song of this time, and labels were looking for artists who could make a song like that. They wouldn't want a Halftime, which is a super hardcore lyrical song, which is the whole Illmatic album. And, even proven by sales, Naughty by Nature was going platinum, and they Grammy nominated. Illmatic sold, 300,000 in 94? And Columbia Records, they didn't know how to promote real MCs. Big L, they didn't know how to promote him. They nearly dropped the Fugees after their first album bombed. Columbia always had a history of they don't know how to promote real hip-hop. They can promote Beyonce and Mariah Carey, but they never knew how to promote real hip-hop artists. So this is what's going on at the time. This is classic right here. Memory Lane from Illmatic, Columbia Records. But I wanted to share this article. This was an early interview with Nas before Illmatic, before you know, he changed hip hop again, because this is also a time, you know, I mentioned in a recent video how Rakim changed rap forever when he debuted, and very few people have debuted and changed music. They changed how people rap. They changed how people came up with their concepts, their songs, their verses. And Nas followed in Rakim's footsteps in many ways. And when Nas came out with Illmatic, and not even just Illmatic, Live at the Barbecue, those verses changed how people thought they could rap. You know, Nas had that same type of impact. After Illmatic, everyone was trying to make an Illmatic. You know, before Illmatic, you know, rappers just had their DJ or their producer. You know, Eric B and Rakim, and you know, maybe Marley Marl, or you know, G Rap and Polo. It was always a rapper and one producer, or a rapper and two producers. Illmatic was, I'm gonna get all the best producers: Pete Rock, Boss Professor, Q-Tip, Premier. I'm gonna get all these people at one time, and everyone has followed that since in rap. You know, it's rare you could find a rap album in the last 30 years that is just one producer or two. It's rare. Maybe Griselda would do like an album just by Derringer or whatever, and Alchemist. But it's rare. You know, every rapper, it don't matter, East, West, North, South, overseas, every rapper took the formula of Illmatic and got 5, 7, 10 different producers on every track, trying to recreate Illmatic or the same style that worked for it. So I wanted to share this interview with the great subscribers and supporters of this channel. Hit the like button, share this video. What are your memories of Nas before pre-Illmatic Nas? And when you know what? When's the first time you heard Nas? Some people might be young, so maybe it was later on, you had to go back. But if you were around, you know, 91, 92, 93, do you have memories of the first time you heard Nas? Did you hear Nas before Illmatic dropped? Or what's your memories the first time you just heard Illmatic? Or were you someone who's younger and maybe you had to go back? But what are your thoughts on Nas in this era? Leave it in the comment section. If you enjoy this content, if you want more content like this, you can donate to the Cash App. The Cash App is $XDN online. Most of my videos on this channel are from donations from the great listeners like you. And with that said, I'm up out of here, and that is it. XDN wins again. It never ends.